Welcome to another episode of the 1 Year No Beer podcast. Today I have an incredible guest, DJ Fat Tony, celebrity DJ, spent his younger years DJing for, and still does, DJing for the superstars, made a name for himself. Today is a very, very powerful episode. We talk about his trauma, sexual abuse at 10 years old, and really severe alcohol and drug addiction and how he slipped into that. And we hear the story of transformation and of change to the other side to now being in a position of supporting other people on a great level. It's just such an amazing interview today, and I'm really looking forward to diving into it with you because this is powerful stuff, so enjoy the episode. Very excited today to be joined by DJ Fat Tony. Fat Tony, you don't look very fat.
Oh, please, that old title question. Yeah, I'm not fat. No, I haven't been fat for a very long time. But it stemmed from being a child, being a fat child.
Yeah. Okay.
Circumstance. Yeah.
And it's stuck with you forever.
I owned it. It didn't stick. I owned it. I kind of was like, okay, that's the name they're all calling me behind my back. I'll take it and run with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, the thing is, as soon as you own something, it's yours. It's not theirs anymore. 100%. And it no longer is a stone to throw
a weapon.
At you. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
I own it. I use it. So
yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
You said my name? Yeah, no, it totally eliminates it. So help me piece all this stuff together. You grew up on a council estate in Battersea.
Yeah. And
next minute you were flying Concorde to New York.
Yeah.
So
I can't, it was a very different time we didn't have social media, so you had to do something. To be known or to have a platform, you had to create your own platform to be seen and to get a voice. And basically, for me, I was in the right place at the right time always. I worked in the King's Road, and at that point in time, it was like social media. It was like the modern day Facebook. It was a place where people went to be seen, had their photos taken. If you were in the King's Road on a Saturday afternoon, you were in the right place because everyone went there, they flocked there. It was the centre of London for fashion, for diversity, for creativity. And I worked there, and I worked in a place called the Great Gear Market. So I kind of got to know people really quickly. And, and everything really stemmed from there. I started going out clubbing. I started at a very young age, at 14, and kind of just met the right people. And I never ever wanted to be a DJ. I never ever wanted to be anything apart from have fun. Literally, that was my main mission in life, was to go out clubbing and have fun. And everything else was a byproduct of that. So when suddenly the DJing opportunity came along, I took it. Yeah. Because what it did do was it gave me a purpose and a reason to be in that club instead of just being in that club. Okay. Do you know what I mean? I was a part of that club. And it kind of just gave me this new platform. So very quickly, that kind of just happened. I started DJing. Within a month, I had a residency in New York.
I mean, okay. How did you... I mean, that's amazing.
Because, at that point in time, everyone from London was getting on with being in London. You got to remember, London was just 4 streets. The centre of the West End of London, where people went clubbing, was 4 streets in Soho. That was it. There was no let's go clubbing in Shoreditch. There was no let's go clubbing in Peckham or any other part of London. It was the West End. That's where you went clubbing.
Right.
They were the licensed venues.
Yeah.
They were the only places you could go. Don't get me wrong, there were illegal parties going off all over the place.
Yeah.
King's Cross, for once, where we are today.
Yeah.
There was an amazing place here called Battlebridge Road where they had illegal raves constantly every night of the week. It was insane.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, it was the West End, and basically what was going on in London at that point, everybody in New York wanted to be from London. So London was really big
buzz.
on the whole London scene. So anything you did, if you were from London, you were really cool, and they wanted it. So it was, you know. But one night I just started doing a club on a Tuesday night called Total Fashion Victim at the WAG Club, and Andy Warhol came, and with a guy called Billy. Billy Boy and a few other people. They all turned up and they were like, okay, Andy's outside, is it okay if he comes in? We were like, yeah, bring him in. And that kind of was the start of the whole Fat Tony in New York series, because what had happened was I was DJing with them, they left. I then met a few other people from New York who were like, oh, we want you to come and play in New York. One of them being Steve Rebell from Palladium, Studio 54 fame, and you know, he asked me to come over and do New York, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it, but I want to bring with me one of my friends who DJs with me. So we went over and did that, and we did Total Fashion Victim there. We all flew over and did that, and that was kind of the start of it, really, because then I started going back and forth every other week to New York. And there were times when I was like, oh, I can't make it. And they were like, well, what if we fly you on Concorde? And I was like, okay, I can do that. Because it was all about prestige. And it was all about name. And it was all about having the best of London in New York.
Very cool. Amazing. I mean, really amazing. And so, but before we go into that that part of the journey, what was growing up like on your council estate in Battersea?
It was far from normal, because for me, I didn't belong on that estate. There was a big part of me that didn't belong on that estate. There was a major part of me that still did believe it and still does belong on that estate. But you know, I wasn't. They weren't my people. I never had a problem with my sexuality. I never had a point where I thought, oh my God, who am I? I always knew I was gay.
Yeah.
I always knew who I was. To a certain extent, I knew what I was, not who I was. There's a difference, and you know. And I just didn't fit in with the rest of them. They were all skinheads and they were all like in gangs. And I loved being a part of the gang. I loved being the loudest one. And, you know, my brother was the hardest one on the estate. And so therefore no one ever said anything to me. So I would say everything to everyone else, but no one would say anything to me because they in fear of repercussion from my family. But so I never really fit in with anyone at that point. But, you know, as a kid, being the gay one and not being in the closet, there was never a point where I was like, you know, I didn't go around saying I'm gay. I didn't need to. I was just, you know, I went for a really effeminate stage. I went for a real stage where I was leaving the house in drag at 13 and 14, and you know, playing with my sort of like, you know, my gender as such. So for me, growing up on that estate, sometimes it was hard. There were points where I got bullied, or they tried to bully me. You know, and I learned really quick that if you get bullied, become the bully. It's, you know, it's not great ethics for life.
Yeah.
But, you know, it served a point. It served a purpose at that time. You know, when I remember going to my secondary school and I had permed hair, curly, long permed hair, duds my waist at the back. And I remember going to school and them all calling me Sally. And me getting annoyed by it. And I remember just thinking, right, fuck you, you know, it ain't going to happen. And then I remember this group of boys outside school calling me gay. And I was like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And so what I did was the following week, I got in with the hardest group of girls in the school.
Right.
There were these three girls, Marcia, Sharon, and this other one, and that everyone feared. I mean, they were feared. Hard. You saw them coming, everyone ran.
Wow.
I befriended them. We became best friends. We bunked off school together. We hung out together. No one ever said anything to me after that point.
Yes.
No one.
Well done. Smart moves, I guess. And also, you're self-proclaimed, you know, using this sort of blag, the chat. You've always had the chat.
I've always had the chat.
And that wave was part of your weapon to be using the chat.
You know, it is. You know, I call it chat, but you know, I've always had this like behaviour problem, it still can be a problem, you know.
Yep.
But I kind of have it under control now, believe it or not, at 57. But you know, I suffer with really bad ADHD, and I also very severe dyslexia. So my ability to sit still and to take anything in is really, really hard, and I really have to focus on that. So at school, I was seen as disruptive.
Yep.
I was seen as the trouble kid. I was seen as the one that would never learn anything, not to waste your time on. So school and me never really got on. You know, I was always the one making all the laughing and making everyone laugh in the class and starting trouble, and you know, so you know, the chat was there. That's who I was.
Yeah.
You know, because I lacked, I didn't believe in myself because I didn't know I was dyslexic. I just thought I couldn't read or write properly.
Yeah.
You know, that affects a kid really badly.
Oh,
and for me, it just, what it did was it made me act out in other areas to overcompensate the fact that I was insecure the way around the fact that I wasn't like all the other clever kids in the class.
Yeah. I could have said many of the words that have just come out of your mouth. ADHD, nobody understood. And it's really interesting in the science they're showing us now that actually they believe that a large proportion of ADHD is actually sleep deprivation early on in a baby. Right. And so because we didn't get into a good early sleep routine, it caused this attention deficit.
Isn't it?
Mad. That then totally transforms your entire life for the rest of the life. But
also, you know, this whole ADHD thing is like suddenly become the new pulled pork.
Exactly.
You know, it really is. It's like the new pulled pork, and it's like everyone's got it. Everyone uses it as an excuse for this or an excuse for that. But, you know, and that kind of saddens me in a way, because I kind of think, because when I talk about it, it makes me feel like a bit of a fake, because, you know, I know what I suffer with. I know my behaviours. And I know that my attention span is so short. Yeah, I halfway through a work meeting and I start rummaging through drawers.
Yeah, or talking about something.
Oh no, I start rummaging through drawers and I get up and I start doing things, and then I'm like, oh, what was I doing? Yeah, I go off on these tangents, and some days it's really good. Yeah, some days I can be really all right with myself, and then there's other days where it just goes. And for me, it's worst when I sit down. If I sit down to watch a movie, I'm asleep within a minute. Within a minute. Yeah. There's something I want to watch, I'm asleep within a minute. Yeah. There's something I'm not interested in, I'll watch the whole thing. As soon as I try to focus on something, that's it, I'm out. Yeah, interesting. And it's you know, I've talked to my doctor about it for many a year, and you know, and it's a part of being ADHD. You know, it's that shutting down moment. Because you know, they get like, why don't you meditate? I fucking meditate. What are you on about? Do you know what I mean? Why don't you do yoga? Please. I don't have, you know, this is the reason I don't drive. So people go, do you not drive? And I'm like, you're like, ooh. They're like, oh, you don't need to drive, really. You live in London. It's fuck all to do with living in London. Yeah. It's the fact that I do not have the you know, seriously, that I would have
Lord
killed.
Only knows where you would end up.
Seriously.
Why are you in Brighton?
Do you know what I mean?
don't know.
Literally. Yeah.
Unable to actually follow even the Google Maps.
Yeah, no. Wouldn't listen to it.
Switch off. And so the ADHD, and of course that is traumatic. That experience is traumatic. Add in the dyslexia, and that is traumatic. But you actually had some pretty significant trauma.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I basically, my mum was really, when I was really young, I was around about the age of 8 and 9, my mum got ill. She had different forms of cancer, and my dad at that point in time, you know, my mum and dad were together for many years from a young age, and my dad really doted on my mum, and my mum got ill, and my dad started drinking at weekends, and you know, to cope with it, and we, you know, it kind of ripped our family apart in a sense. So, you know, for me, I've always been an attention seeker because I'm the middle child. My little elder brother was, 3 of us. My older brother was always in trouble with the police, so he got all the attention. So then I came along. Then my younger brother came along, who was God's gift. Right. You know, he was the golden child as such. So suddenly I was in the middle, the disruptive dyslexic, ADHD, gay
Attention
son.
seeker. Yeah.
For me, I kind of did the most ridiculous things just to seek attention. And when you seek attention, you get preyed on.
Yeah.
So people see it and they see it as a vulnerability. They see that stuff and they know that you're a gay child. They pick up on that, especially predators in that sense. So I got preyed on. I got groomed. It went on for 4 years. It wasn't a sexual abuse of a one night stand sexual abuse in the sense of like it happened and that was it. This went on for 4 years. It was a lot of brainwashing. There was an awful lot of guilt and I was made to feel like I was the one that instigated and did it all. And it's not an off the cuff action. It's not someone's just sort of took, oh well, this is what I do. This is all predatory. This is like really premeditated. The whole thing is a game plan from start to finish. And and that became my life. So for me,
and that was age 10.
I was 10, yeah. I was 10 and 10 till I was 14. When I still can't to this day tell you how it ended. I don't know how it ended. I think there's bits of me that remembers saying to him that I was going to go to the police. And I remember him saying to me, if you go to the police, you'll be the one that's in trouble because you did this.
Yeah.
And because he was paying me, there was money transaction because I worked for him. He showed films in youth clubs. Of course he did.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That's the typical job of someone like that. And he paid me, so I was getting paid. So it was a transactional thing, which I still have no respect for money now. And how much money I earn, it's like I have to spend it, or I don't want to go near it. I've got a lot better.
Hopefully somebody else is looking after your money.
Oh yeah, they are now. Don't worry, we had that conversation yesterday. But it. Yeah, it's had an effect on me all my life. And although I thought that I was on top of it, because I learned really quickly that I could get what I wanted out of people. I learned how to manipulate people. I was sexualized at the age of 10. At the age of 9, actually, 9.5, I was sexualized at such a young age. And that took away, what that did to us, that took away my youth, that took away my innocence. I suddenly become a person that I never ever would have wanted to be or let alone be.
Yeah.
It was an awful time, and it affected me in such a way that I was kind of spiraled out of control really quickly from the age of 14.
Right.
I didn't want to drink. I never wanted to be like my dad, because my dad used to drink heavily at weekends, and it would always end in a fight in my house, and my mum would always end up in hospital.
Oh God!
There would be my mum an overdose, because mum was very, very dramatic. But there would always be these scenarios, and I just thought, I'm never going to be like my parents. I'm never going to be like my dad. And of course I was going to be like my dad. I inherited it.
Yeah.
I'm an addict. Everything I do. Even today, even though today's my 16-year clean time birthday today.
Wow, congratulations. Wow, what an iconic day.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And, even at 16 years, I still have addictive personality disorder, in the sense that, if I buy a pair of shoes, I want them in 3 different colours.
I heard you ordering a pair of shoes just as
go
we came
away
in the door.
I'm going away to Cambodia.
Well, shoe addiction is definitely a
better.
better.
I buy clothes. I don't buy drugs or cars or anything else. I'm I'm of a certain age where I have to look the part, and to look the part, I feel the part to do the job that I do.
Yeah.
Because there's 50 million kids half my age snapping at my heels. They'll never do the job that I do. Because they're not me. I do that
absolutely,
job.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying I'm the best DJ in the world, but what I have created for myself is who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't live in fear of new talent. I promote new talent.
Yeah.
I don't live in fear of anything really anymore.
Good for you.
Which is remarkable. It's taken 16 years to get to that point.
I imagine a lot of therapy, a lot of work.
The therapy is one part of it, but it is the work. To change, there is no change without change, and you have to put that work in.
You got to work.
You really do. And I hate fellowship sloganism. I hate, like, you work it because you're worth it and all of that stuff. You know, I hate it because it's been drummed into me. But it's like, you know, eat your greens when you're a kid, you know, fuck off, I'm not going to eat my greens. And then when you finally do eat your greens, you think, oh my God, what have I been missing? You know, it's like that, but with...
If you hadn't have forced me, I probably would have done it earlier.
Totally, right? But, you know, you do have to work at it.
Yeah.
Everything it's a working process.
It is. Do the work. I'm a big proponent of doing the work. You know, I think you touched onto this before. I'm jumping about a bit, but that's the ADHD. Is that, you know, actually this showing up in a way like that is a gift because it's an indication that there's work required for people. And this is the thing, like compulsive behavior before we go into the word of addiction.
Yeah, compulsive behavior is, you know, there's signs on everything, all right? You know, there's signs. If you have one can of Coke and you have to have another two straight afterwards, I suggest not having the first. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
You know, because that's sugar. Yeah. We get, you know, there's different ways at looking at it. You know, addiction, people think that addiction is like, oh my God, you're sitting on a park bench with no teeth. That's and it's not, you know.
100%.
You know, if, for instance, my grandmother was given sleeping pills by the doctor because she couldn't sleep, and she took one a night for a month. She would not be addicted to them, but she'd be dependent on them. And in her mind, she would think, I need to take them, otherwise I won't sleep.
Yeah.
The probability is, if she didn't get them for a few days, she'd probably sleep better.
It would get there.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know that, right?
Exactly.
But with me, if I was prescribed sleeping pills for a month, I'd do the lot in 2 days. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I'm wired.
Yeah.
Right? That's the way I think. That's the way I'm wired. You know, so the signs are always there. You know, I've got lots of little nieces and nephews, and I can tell you now the ones that have got the problems.
Yeah.
I spend 20 minutes in their presence. I'm like, oh my God, that's the one. That's the one with the magic.
Yeah.
Because it's not the one with the problems. They're the ones with the magic. Yeah. If it's channeled right, if ADHD is channeled right, if dyslexia is channeled right, and you see it for what it is, and you make plans and you make changes to generate positivity instead of, oh my God, you're such a nuisance child. No.
Yeah.
That you know, it's your job to change that. So if you see it and you catch it early on, with like everything with compulsive disorders, you know, if they have to sleep with the light on, if they, you know, for me, I can't go to bed at night if there's a fork in the sink or there's a plate out of place. I can't. I get out of bed and I will go and sleep because that's how my mind operates. You know, because I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and that plate in the sink or fork in the sink will turn into a brown letter through the door, which will turn up into me going to prison, because that's how my mind works.
Wow.
It's insane. It just goes off on these insane,
total
like
tangents.
almost like fever dreams.
Yeah.
That's where they go, you know, like nothing makes sense. But you know, in my mind it all makes sense. It becomes like the Matrix, you know. So, you know, watch out for those signs, because it does, you know, if you catch things earlier on, they don't always lead to that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, exactly. I think it's catching them early on, doing the work, and I think we, as humanity or society, we're still trying to understand about what the work really is, right? Trauma, like healing trauma, to really heal trauma. Yeah. Well, we're still understanding that. There's lots of interesting things. Like, I mean, one of the great proponents in healing trauma, I believe, at the moment, or the future to come, is psychedelic therapy. We're seeing a huge rise in that. You know, there's things like technology. So I think we're just starting to understand actually what the work is to do. But I do believe that we're going to solve this conundrum and help many people either come back from addiction or prevent addiction in the first place as we start to understand it. So
I think, you know, there's such a fine line between when we use things for the better, that it's great. It's when we use them for the worst, that's when it all becomes bad. You know, drug use and drug abuse are two different things. Yeah. It's how you use those drugs. You know, as you said, with psychedelic help and stuff like ketamine, for instance, for depression.
Yeah, I know. Now coming to the NHS.
Yeah.
MDMA in the next 2 years on the NHS.
Of course, weed.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Yeah. Why are we not living in a country that grows so much of it and it can solve so many problems when
Magic
it comes
mushrooms.
to cancer?
Yeah.
The unreal stories that you read, and they're not they're not like put out there to, you know, they're not like, you know, like conspiracy theorist stories of like, oh, someone started taking THC and blah blah blah. Suddenly their cancer was good. It's fucking real.
It's real.
It's real. I meet people that were given 6 months and 7 years later, still alive because they take 2 capsules of THC a day.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Or people who are drinking every day heavily and having one psilocybin treatment and never touching it
again.
Come on. But the thing about it is, look at what's prevalent out there. Alcohol. Sorry, zero research have ever said that putting that into your body is good for you. It's horrendous.
It's not good for you. Why would it? How could it be good for you?
That's exactly. It's not. It's 100% poison.
It's not. And you know, the sad thing about it is as well, it's everywhere. It's everywhere in that sense. You know, when I work with people, I do sponsorship with people, depending on what level they are or what they want. Because I don't believe that there are different ways to help people.
Of course there are.
Not everybody needs to go to a 12-step fellowship. Not everybody needs to, you know, to go down this route or that route. It's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, I always try to gauge where people are at with it, you know, what their beliefs are or how far you can push them. And I just think that, you know, it's so many different levels of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I try to say to them, look, to people all the time, okay, let's see where you get on with this, all right?
Yeah.
You know, because I'm not one of these people that say, okay, right, you've got to go to a 12-step program. You've got to give up everything.
Yeah.
Because everything isn't your problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? As an addict and as someone that's worked a 12-step program, I believe that alcohol is the biggest demon that ever walked the earth. I believe this is, you can't go here, you can't go there. As I've got older and as I've worked my program and as I've lived a life of recovering, a sober life, because it's not always in recovery. Yeah. It's a sober life. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
There's lots of people who think the other way around. I've heard people say 29 years in recovery. And
how many meetings do they do a week? 5?
Yeah.
That's not life.
Come on.
That's not life.
No.
That's not life. You know, it's not. You know, I didn't get clean to go to sit in church halls eating broken biscuits. I did not do that.
Yeah.
What I did do was I got clean so I have an incredible life that I pass that message on to other people.
Yeah, good for you.
I will not say to someone, you need to do this, you need to do that, right? I will point them in different directions and let's see how we get on with that.
Yeah.
You know,
amazing.
There are so many, and as I say, some people need meetings and some people need beatings. It's as simple as that in life. And, you know, for me, what I've learned...
Some people both?
Both, 100%. But when I say beatings, I don't mean a physical beating. I mean like a life beating, you know. Yeah. But, you know, alcohol is everywhere. But it's you know, once you make that decision...
Yeah.
And that's the point, the turning point. Yeah. Is that decision of, I can no longer do this.
Yeah.
I no longer want to do this.
Yes.
You know, I speak to people that I very fortunately worked with a lot of rehabs and set up rehabs in the past, and I speak to people and I say to them, you know, and they're like, oh, I can't do that, I'm worried about Christmas. And I'm like, okay, have you not made the decision that you no longer want to drink? Yeah. Because I see Christmas as a wonderful thing because I'm not drinking. Yeah, yeah. Not because, oh my God, everyone's going to be drinking. Let everybody drink. You walk down the road, you're breathing the same air as everybody else has got drinking and breathing because they're all reading in the pub. You know, listen, it's everywhere. Yeah. You have to make that decision. Yeah. That is no longer a choice for you, and it's not an easy one to make, right? But as soon as you surrender to the fact that no longer works for you, that's it. Yeah. I think that's very powerful, and I think it's so right. And I've heard you say that on the podcast I've been listening to, and you know, the work you're doing is amazing, and sponsoring people and guiding people through it, and just talking this, it's really powerful stuff. So thank you and well done. And you know, similarly, what we really discovered was that often people are trying to get control, like what you're talking about, which is, oh, I don't want to drink at Christmas. Years and years before they admit they stop. Yeah, so if we can help them earlier when they're at that point, then hopefully we can steer them away from these things. And you know, that's my life purpose. For someone like me, every day was Christmas. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Literally, it was like literally. You know, I couldn't get past. Let's talk about that. I could never get past one day. You know, it wasn't until it got to the point where it got so bad, and you know, my advice to people is do not leave it. So it's got to that point where you have no teeth in your head and you're dying, and your only thing you got to look forward to is death, which is what it got to for me to make that change.
Yeah.
You know,
You pulled out your own teeth.
yeah, I pulled all my teeth out. I had one tooth.
Do you remember
left.
that moment?
It wasn't. I wish it was a moment. It went on for over a year.
Wow.
It was. I'd kind of reached a pinnacle point in my drug taking, and then suddenly I met the one, another guy.
Mm-hmm.
They're always the one every week. Oh, this is the one. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this one came from New York, and with him came crystal meth, and I kind of just was like, I'm not sure about that. And I was like, it was 6 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning, and I was like, have you got any? And he was like, yeah, come on. So I went to his house and was smoking that, and that was it. That was the turning point. That was fucking, it ravaged me.
Just new level.
A new level. I couldn't cope with it. I had a thing called meth mouth, where my mouth was septic, and I wanted the teeth out of my head because I thought I had animals living in my mouth. And I started pulling on them and digging them out with screwdrivers and bits of stick. And
Good
I remember
Lord.
going into shop and buying a pot of toothpicks so I could stick them in. Yeah, like really, really insane. But I thought it was normal. I remember when I went to trying to get into rehab, and I had to go for a psychiatric assessment right at the very last moment is what I made. And it had gone for that many a year before things might be slightly different. They might have picked up on a few things. But but unfortunately, when you work with the NHS in this country, they only get given a certain amount of funding. We can't blame the NHS. We can't blame anyone. We can blame the government. We could, but we could be here all day on that.
Yep,
It'd be
exactly.
a totally different podcast.
Yep.
But they didn't pick up on it. And I remember when I went to the assessment, and the guy said to me, "Have you ever self-harmed?" And I remember sitting there, and I thought, "What type of person do you think I am?"
Yeah.
I said, "Why would I self-harm?" And he was like, "I'm just asking you, have you ever self-harmed? Have you ever hurt yourself?" No. Of course I haven't. And my partner sat next to me, and my partner looked at me and he went, "You pulled all your own teeth out." And I was like, "Yeah, but that wasn't self-harming." And that was like the kind of level of the mental state that I'd got to.
Yeah.
I normalised it.
Yeah, normalising it, exactly.
I normalised everything.
Yeah.
I normalised being abused as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I normalised it.
Yeah.
You
have to. You
do.
have to process.
So every kind of part of trauma that I went through in my life, I normalised to a level that I made it. I had to do something more extreme to feel comfortable within that.
Yeah. But so how did you get there from being a DJ? And I mean, everyone could do the math. It's pretty simple. DJing and in that environment and everything else. It wasn't alcohol to begin with. You mentioned.
Oh yeah,
it was.
So
it was
no,
drugs.
it was.
It was.
So I never wanted to be an alcoholic. So what would happen was after work, everyone would go to the pub. There was a place called the Chelsea Potter in Kings Road, and everyone would go there, hang out. It was the cool spot. So I would go there and drink pints of Snakebite, which was cider and blackcurrant and lager, and just think that, I'd drink that. And I was always the last to leave, like every other fucking alcoholic story you ever hear.
Yeah.
But I at that point in stage, I wasn't an alcoholic. I wasn't drinking alcoholically. I just liked the taste of alcohol. Actually, you know what? Sitting here saying I like the taste, I don't think I even did like the taste. I liked the social side of it.
Yeah, the buzz,
that's what I
take
liked.
the edge off.
Yeah.
For me, as an ADHD, my brain is furious.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the noise is insane. I mean, I had suicide attempts at 13 and 14, couldn't put up with the noise inside my head. It was so aggressive, is the word. And alcohol for me switched that off.
Yeah, it definitely numbs a lot. It's like in cocaine for me.
Oh, yeah.
It was the biggest number of them all.
Yeah. But the alcohol started. I mean,
alcohol.
This is the thing as well, is that most alcohol starts and then it's like, then you want the bag.
Well, alcohol's not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing's ever enough.
Yeah.
So it was. It was always those two. It would always be alcohol for many years, and I didn't touch drugs for a good 3 or 4 years after alcohol. And it was suggested to me by a friend, you need to start taking cocaine.
Yeah, probably on a Concorde.
Because you get no, because I remember the very night he said it, because he said, because you need to fucking something to ease you out, because I was getting so drunk all the time and violent.
Yeah.
And
And violent.
And there was a lot of violence. You know, you said about the noises in your head and those voices.
Yeah.
I projected those voices. They didn't stay in my head. What was going on in my head came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Literally, from the minute you met me, I was in your grill. I was, it was like Tasmania, and
A human weapon.
but you know that. But I turned it into an asset. I turned it into, people feared me. People were like, it was like, fuck, man, he's mental.
Yeah.
And I loved the fact that people thought I was mental.
Yeah. Well, it's a
It
brand.
covered up, but also it covered up so much more.
Totally,
It was
yeah.
the biggest smoke screen you could ever find. Do you know what I mean? And then then alcohol and drugs became that smoke screen.
Completely.
Because I never ever, like I say in my book, at the end of the book, there's one line at the end of the book which sums up my life. It sums up everything. And I remember when we were writing it, and Mikey, who I was writing with, was like, I said, that's the end. He was like, what? I said, that's it, I'm done. And he was like, what, you want to end it on that line? I said, yeah, I do. And every time I say the line, it makes all my hair stand on end. It makes me want to cry, because that's what it's all about. And it's a really simple line of, all I ever wanted to be was loved. And it makes me want to cry now, because it is what it was all about.
Yeah.
I've always wanted people to like me.
Yeah.
I never ever wanted anyone to love me.
Yeah.
Because if you loved me, that meant you knew who I was.
Yeah.
And I was so ashamed of who I was. From the age of 10, I was ashamed. I was ashamed of being on that estate. I was ashamed that, you know, all my friends their fathers had high thingy jobs and weren't beating their mums up. I was ashamed about all that stuff. I was ashamed about who I was, not because I came on the council estate, but because I was gay. I was made to feel ashamed. You know, and then the sexual abuse, and so on, so on, so on. So the shame that I carried with me all my life,
Huge.
I took into every relationship, not sexual relationship, but any relationship, friendship, you know, mothership, you know, anything. You know, it was I was a nightmare, because I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
And the bigger nightmare I was, the more you weren't going to come near me, the more you would not know who I was. Intimacy, I was so far from intimacy. I could not be intimate with anyone.
Yeah. So sexual, but not intimate.
Oh, sex
Exactly.
and intimacy are two
Because
different
it's
things.
all of exactly.
Sex
But-
for me is
but
like,
you also had humour. You had
totally.
aggression.
Oh my god,
Humour.
Humour was the biggest one.
Yeah.
Of course. Oh my god, I could make 2,000 people laugh.
Yeah.
I walk out of the room and think, okay, job well done. They don't know who I am, and that was I let you think you knew me. No one knew me, because I was so ashamed of who I really was, and I know it's not like that today.
Yes. So, how have you become?
I've worked on myself in
Closer.
so many different levels. You know, you know, when I sat down to start writing the book 3 years ago now, I thought I'd overcome everything. I was like, yeah, it's fine. And there were, within a month of writing, we started, Mikey was like, let's start on abuse. And I was like, oh, can we leave that one? And the minute I said, oh, can we leave that one, I realised
Yeah.
I've not even touched the sides on that one.
Yeah.
I'd only ever spoken about it once. Twice. Once
the
in
sexual
Ibiza, the
abuse in
sexual abuse
detail.
and what
Yeah.
happened to me.
Yeah.
I spoke about it once on a trip to Ibiza when I was 16, 17. And I then spoke about it once again when I was 38 to my mum on a come down. And I told her. And it devastated her. And because it wasn't, as I say, oh, so-and-so interfered with me. It was far worse than that. There were groups of men involved. It was awful. What could have happened to me is unfathomable. It was fucking beyond anything, you know. Thank God for ADHD. Thank God for the fact that I was unruly and I couldn't be groomed to the extent that they wanted to groom me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was
yeah.
I fought back.
Yeah.
You know.
You had that.
I fought back. I cleared that cunt, and will say the word cunt on this.
Yeah.
That cunt's bank account out on purpose. You know, for the reason that what he did to me and what he was doing to me. I didn't spend the money. I gave the money away. You know, for me, I just could do anything I could to get to him. You know, because I knew money was what drove him. Anyway, it was, that stuff stays with you for so long.
For life.
And, and I can see why people give in and throw the towel in and can't cope.
Yeah.
I can see it. I see it. I just learned other coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
I learned defenses of character.
Exactly. Just
people call them defects. I called them defenses.
Yeah.
They were defenses.
Yeah.
My defects became defenses on so many levels, and they served a purpose throughout my life. There would always be one level which I was more concerned in that served that purpose. And so when we started writing the book, I was like, I don't think I can do this. And I was like, I said, okay, let's get on with the abuse. So it was day 2 of doing abuse. I got food poisoning. I was like really ill, shivering. I went to bed that night and I had the worst fever dreams about that guy that abused me. I could smell him. I could see him. Things came up that I completely had forgotten about. And I didn't have food poisoning at all. It was trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
It was it was post-traumatic.
Yeah, PTSD.
Yeah. It affected me so badly. And I rang my doctor and I was like, look, I'm fucked. And he was like, okay, I know someone that I want you to go and see, and she does trauma therapy. So I went to see this woman. And she probably changed my life on so many levels because I'd done therapy, so much therapy.
Talk therapy.
Yeah, and never done trauma therapy in the sense where I was sitting down, cross-legged on the floor, drawing pictures. Why would I be doing that?
Yeah.
But what it does is it opens this part of the brain that we close. When we talk about something, I'll only tell you so much.
And then...
Yeah, that's it. And with the drawing, it opens up a whole new world. And
amazing.
I overcome so many of my fears through it, and so much of it, so much through that therapy that I was able to write that book. Then writing the book, it's I had to make that book as honest as possible. Not possible. I mean as honest. Possible. Honest. That's it.
Yeah. And
Mikey, who was doing it with, I was dictating to every day, would say to me, "Do you sure you want to put that in?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
Yeah.
Because it will help someone. I'm not the only one that feels that way. I'm not the only one. So, we'd write it. He'd go away. It took 2.5 years for a reason, because he'd go away. We'd go back, and then I'd say, "Have we done this?" And he'd go, "Yeah," and give me the chapters to read. And I'd be like, "No, that's wrong. Let's change that."
Yeah.
I come out of that smelling of roses.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come out of every chapter smelling of roses. It wasn't, look at me, I'm the big I am. I wanted it to be so real. I don't care how I came out.
Yeah.
And that was kind of sad in itself as well, because there's a part of me that wants people to respect me. I want people to say, "Oh, well done," pat you on the back, and all that stuff. But at the same time, they needed to see the process of how and why. And that was the purpose of the book. And it was the most cathartic thing I've ever done. It's the most freeing thing I've ever done.
And I have absolutely no doubt that it will help many people, from so many factors. So well done on getting the book out there. What's the book called?
I Don't Take Requests.
That's the one. I Don't Take Requests, which I thought was a great story as well about. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, throughout life, I've been told, "Don't eat your greens." Eat your greens. Do this, do that, and it's like And I've never ever once done what I've been asked to do. So, and as a DJ, being asked to play something is like, it's the worst insult ever. Someone comes like, "Can you play?" It's like, "What do you think I'm doing?" Don't. If you're a designer, I won't come into your shop and tell you, "Can you do that in green but in 3/4 length?" No, fuck off.
Yeah, I like the phrase, "I'm not a fucking jukebox."
I'm not a fucking jukebox. And I've said it so many times. Go fuck yourself. But for me, it's like. It summed up the way I am with people and the way I am with myself. And as I say, trauma therapy,
Yeah.
It's the way forward for me, it was.
Yeah.
I thought I'd dealt with that wreckage, and I really have now.
Yeah, amazing. Big proponent for trauma therapy. I've done psychotherapy through all my life. From the age 6,
Yeah.
I was into counselling because I was a nut. And this is the big thing for people is like, do you know the work of Gabor Mate?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So addiction is a response to trauma.
Yeah.
And if there is a compulsive behaviour, then there is unmet trauma, and most people have no idea that almost all of us have trauma.
Yeah, of course we do.
Okay, we don't have the sexual abuse that you had.
No, but
it's not conscious.
trauma can be a bit banging your head when you're a kid.
Exactly.
It can be shutting your fingers in the door and having your pet taken away from you.
That's it.
It can be so
These are the traumas
that is it.
that we then code into our mind, and it's unreal. As we're understanding that stuff, it's unreal.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and it's with us.
Yeah.
And although we think, oh, I don't even think about that, so it can't be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to think about it.
Exactly.
That's the reason why it's got the power that it has.
All subconscious.
Yeah, I remember when I was seeing a trauma therapist, her name was Tara, and I remember sitting down with Tara, and I remember her saying to me one day, when did you last think about having a drink? And I was like, 14 and a half years ago. And she was like, okay. What about drugs? When did you last think about doing drugs? And I was like, about the same, 14 and a half years ago. And she went, okay, so why do you still go to meetings? And I was like, because I need to go to meetings. She said, so why are you doing meetings how many times a week? And I said, 4 times a week. She said, 4 times a week for something that you haven't done for nearly 15 years. Why?
Why?
And I was like, it's because it's a learnt behaviour. Mm-hmm. I felt that I needed to do it. But also, she went, I can see, sitting here, 6, maybe 7 really big dramas and behaviours that need to change. But yet you're going and harping on about something you haven't done for 14 and a half years to get the glory of not doing it for 14 and a half years, but ignoring those. And you talk to, and I'm not forever talking about smoke screens.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a big one on that one. I was like
calling people out on it as well. It sounds like.
Always. I'd light a bonfire and I'm lighting 5 others around it to cover up. Using that, I have hypocrite tattooed on my hand for a reason. Yeah. But that.
And arrogant on the other.
Yeah, totally, because it's a hand I tell people to fuck off with. But and it dawned on me, and I just thought, you know what? I really have been wallowing in the misery of the past. Yeah. And I really need to bring it up to date.
Yeah.
I need to live in the moment. I don't need to be going to eat broken biscuits again in church halls for the rest of my life. What I need to be doing is getting on with my life. Working, I've been given tools for life, and those tools I use. I wasn't using anything. I was using meetings and people in those meetings for resentments. I could go to a meeting, it would ruin my day. I could go to a meeting, it would make my day. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know. I don't need to be listening to the same war stories for the rest of my life, because that's not a life. Yeah. And I made that decision, and that works for me right now. I'm in the most transparent place I've ever been in my life. I'm in the most transparent relationship. I'm loved and I love. Fuck, man, what the hell is that about? Just to be in a place where I can actually say I love someone because I love myself. Awesome. I have such self-respect today. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I used to wake up in the morning at 13, 14 years sober and think, I hate myself. I hate the way I look. I feel fat. I feel this. Why? Not how. Yeah. And today it's all about how can I change the way I feel? How can I do this? Instead of like, why am I like, I don't have those days anymore. Yeah. I don't wake up feeling less than. And that is a miracle.
It's amazing.
It really is a miracle.
So, but okay, lots in there, because I want to talk about how you did that. How did you turn, right? And also, so to fill, we've been around, but you were DJing superstar around the world. Best pals with all the top celebs, and incredible lifestyle, and and this, I'm not going to say too much. I think it's great that we're skirting around the edges, because then people are going to have to read the book.
Well, I just think that who and what I did is not important. As I did with the book, I changed. In the book, it's not a book about me and my superstar friends and where I went. I changed everyone's names, because the people aren't important. The stories are important.
Yes.
And I could have quite very easily sold 2 million books on the back of those names, and I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because that's not what I wanted to do. And I just think, my life, I got everything given to me at such a young age, and because I wanted it. I wanted to be the funniest person. I wanted to be the loudest person, because I was scared of any other person.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? And with the DJing and the flying around the world at 18 and being probably the most highest paid person in London on that scene at the age of 18, I was earning thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds every week. I mean, literally 30 grand a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Wow.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And that's a long time ago. You try to work to give someone that kind of money and that kind of power and that kind of prestige within London, and to have the friends that I had, who were the biggest pop stars in the world.
Yeah.
That it was never going to end. It was never going to end well. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't, because I had no goals and no direction or anything. It was all about today.
Yeah.
And it's very much similar today. It's all about today, but it's today in a different way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There it's like, let's do this, let's do that. And, I don't have a stop button. I do not have a stop button. I don't know how to stop.
Yeah.
I only stop when I crash.
Yes, exactly. 10 gazillion miles an hour and then kaboom. But I think, I found the oil industry. And the oil industry was great for me, because the ADHD-ness, I did a lot of entertaining. I mean, 250 people into a nightclub, and take it over, and all the craziness we used to do. And so I found an industry where I could continue to numb and avoid avoid all this stuff.
We create. That's what we do. We create.
Yeah.
So we create these scenarios just so that we can get away with doing being
who we are. Exactly.
When there was nowhere to go in London after 3 a.m. or 6 a.m., I would start after hours clubs.
Yeah.
Not for people, but for myself.
Yeah.
So it was a ways and means for me to stay out later and to get more.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I have to be here. It's my job.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was one excuse after another, and that was the way it always was.
Yeah.
And I just, as I say, I did not know how to stop.
So we talked for a bit earlier about the moment that it went off a cliff, which was the meth, and that moment from that boyfriend. But what about the moment that it decided to change? What was the pivotal change moment?
We're actually across the road from where I wanted to change. Literally just the other side of that wall.
A bit of serendipity today, then.
Yeah, very much so. Just the other side of that wall was that choice was made 16 years ago today.
Wow.
Which is rather weird. That's why I want to go there in a minute.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I just told my assistant I want to go to Tom Dixon's shop, but that was the nightclub that I basically was sitting in the back room, rocking backwards and forwards. I had one tooth left at this point. I remember pulling on it, and I remember I would rock backwards and forwards. I'm doing it now as I think about it, just to feel normal. It was a psychotic thing, you know. And I was doing that in the back room, and I'd already been out 3 days. And at this point, I was living in my boyfriend's house because I'd lost my house, and I was living in his house. I was only going to stay a week, and I was being there for like 3 years. And I'd been missing for 3 days. I'd been cheating again, and I remember I broke into the house that morning and robbed his best jeans. He bought some jeans and stole his clothes. And I remember leaving. Anyway, I was in the club, and it was a Friday night, and I was DJing later on that night in there. And I remember rocking backwards and forwards, and I remember my friend Edna at that time, he came in and was like, Johnny's here. I'm going to call him Johnny for the sake, because that's what I call him in the book.
Yeah.
And because I didn't want to put his real name in, I've hurt him enough. And he came in, and I remember thinking, I can't deal with him. I can't deal with him tonight. And I remember him coming in and putting his hand on my shoulder, and I remember looking up at him and I thought, please don't start. Because for months and months and months and months, years even, he'd been coming to the clubs and saying, you're going to find him dead on your toilet floor. Is this, you got to stop him working here. You're all a part of this. He was trying to save my life.
Trying to save you.
But what he was to me.
And they just would have nothing.
No, of course they didn't. They had to deal with me.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, bar him, he's mental, and he was an obstacle to my using.
Yeah.
So I never wanted him around. It wasn't a saviour, he was an obstacle in my eyes.
Yep.
And that night he came and I thought, please don't start, please, because I've got your jeans on. I know for a while you're coming to get your jeans back. And I remember looking at him thinking, and he just literally put his hand on my shoulder and looked at me and went, what happened to you? It makes me want to cry every time, because that was it. That was that God-given moment that changed my life. Because there was no judgment in him. There was none of that anger and resentment. It had gone. And what came out of his mouth was genuine concern and love.
Yeah.
And and for years I would see that the love that coming out of his as something I didn't want it to be, because he would love me and show me love.
Yeah.
But because I was unlovable, I would use it as something else. Yeah, totally. And turn it into an argument. And that night I just was like, I don't know. I couldn't answer the question. I started crying and I said, I've got to leave. And we left the club. And then on the Monday I went to see my GP. Dr. Paul, around the corner from my house in Farringdon. I lived down the road here. And he was like, I've been waiting for you to come to say those words. I said to him, I need help, I'm an addict. He said, I've been waiting for 5 years for you to tell those words to me. I said, why didn't you ever ask me? He said, I did, you just wouldn't listen. All you wanted was extra Tomazepam or Rohypnol or whatever you could try and get out of me. And I was just like, and I remember he said, okay, I want you to go to this place. He gave me an address to a place in City Road, and off I went that day. And I met an incredible woman who was a volunteer there called Penny Checker, and she helped change my life forever. She kind of become, you know what it was? She cared.
Yeah.
She cared about me, not about what I did or what I could do for her or anything else or any of the bullshit that went with my job and who I was. She cared about my using, and cared about the fact that she wanted me to be well. And so I kind of she took me under her wing, and we kind of got to like 10 days without alcohol, and then all hell would break loose. And then we got to like 2 days without drugs, and the process went on. It took 5 months, and then I went to rehab.
Wow.
I was 30 days before I went into rehab sober from alcohol and drugs. I did that on my own because I'd got to that point where the decision was made.
Yeah.
You can't keep doing this, mate.
Yeah.
I suddenly that one when Johnny had said to me that night, what happened to you? That was the pilot light coming up. That was it. It ignited the smallest of flames.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think if we look at that and take that, because I wonder right now of your journey, how many people, not specifically in teaching or anything, but across, just in London, how many people are going through that journey or in parts of that journey at the moment in any areas of it?
I can tell you today I've already had about 450 DMs from people that are going through that journey at the moment, because I'm very vocal about my clean time, and I post up pictures of what I used to look like on my Instagram for a reason, because it's a message it's not about wanting people to say congratulations, it's about the fact that it's doable.
Yeah.
They see me and they follow me on Instagram, they come in on a different chapter.
Yeah.
And they don't know the past chapters, and I kind of think, I want people to know that stuff, and to see you, how I am today, and where I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not about, I blow smoke up Tony's ass. It's about the fact that it's doable.
Yeah.
As soon as you make that decision, you can make that change.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always easy, and we know that. And I'm not saying, you know, oh, as soon as you've decided you're going to stop drinking, you're going to stop.
No, exactly. That's not the case.
You know,
we know that.
The decision
But
comes.
it's got to have the decision first.
You've got the minute you open your mouth and
Yeah.
say those words, "I
Yeah.
need help," is
Yeah.
the minute it can change.
Yeah.
Those are the hardest words you will ever say in your life. Is, "I need help.
Yeah.
I have a problem."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you spreading that word and encouraging people to do that is the key and is powerful. But the interesting thing is as well, I think lots of people hear a story like this, right? Not many people are going to hear your story like you, though. But you know what I mean. They hear a story like this and they go, "Oh, well, that's an addict," and disassociate. I'm not like that.
No.
But what we see all the time and hear from is the people who end up with a much more severe relationship with an addictive substance, whether it's alcohol or something else. They all say exactly the same thing: is I have no idea how I got there.
Oh, of course. You know, they're going home from work and drinking a bottle of white wine in front of the TV,
Which is fine at the moment. Yeah, exactly. That's socially okay.
Yeah,
but it's the same thing.
It's not socially okay because it's you watching TV. Who are you being sociable with?
Well, I mean, look at society.
No, but society says it's okay
That's
to
what I
drink
mean.
a bottle of wine.
So-
Because you know why? Society's getting paid to say that.
Yeah.
They're getting the money. It's all, you know, the government love it. They're getting the tax on it. Everyone else, you know, what you got to remember is you're a stat and you will become a stat, right?
Yep.
And those stats are what make countries and governments richer, right? You know, further down the line, for every bottle of wine you're buying, that's kind of being watched. And you're like, okay, a year from now, there's another stat where we can put on some kind of form of medication and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we can be seen to be helping.
Yeah, exactly.
No one helps you unless you help yourself.
You might like these stats. I did this just the other day, and it's rough, just fag packet stuff. But roughly, I estimate OYNB eliminated 64,324,186 pounds of revenue from the alcohol industry in the last 8 years, approximately 8 million a year. 77.5 million we put back into the UK economy. We saved the NHS 253 million.
Yeah.
We cancelled 250 billion hangovers.
Yeah.
We made thousands of companies more productive. We gave roughly 239,000 kids, wait for it, 253 million more present days with their parents.
Mad, isn't it?
I wonder how many deaths we prevented, how many suicides, how many crimes. So, you know, those are better stats.
They're amazing
And-
stats. You know, can you imagine adding cannabis to that?
Yeah.
Like the stats on that, you know, like just on the good, the pros of it. I mean, not the cons.
Yeah.
You know, start, you know, legalizing those drugs that help people's minds and help, you know, mental health, right? Let's talk about mental health briefly.
Yes,
here,
no.
Right, because, you know, mental illness, right? Let's change the I to we.
Yeah.
And it becomes wellness, right? Mental
that.
wellness. Get rid of the I from the illness and change it to a we.
Yeah.
The minute you start to help someone who you think has got mental health issues, mental illness in any way, shape or form, if you're sitting with someone and they switch the light on and off 4 times in the living room,
Yeah.
ask them
Ask
why.
some questions.
Don't laugh at them. Don't think, oh my God, it's just some little thing that they do. Sit down with them. Don't judge them. Ask them,
Yeah,
what's going on there?
exactly.
Right? That's all it takes. That's a preventative in such a strong way, just by caring. The minute we start to care about anyone else around us, you know, if you know your friend's drinking a bottle of wine a night on her own and then sending text messages
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock to people, to ex-boyfriends,
Yeah.
intervene.
Yeah.
Intervene. Don't judge her. Don't be like, oh my God, you're a mess.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear those words.
Exactly.
No one. Don't deflect your shit onto them, right?
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, the ones that we call a mess are, if I'm say calling you a mess, I'm probably a bigger mess.
Yeah.
Right? We know the old saying of 1 finger pointing at you, 4 pointing back. It's a fact.
Yeah.
We deflect our shit onto other people.
Completely.
So what I'm saying to you is, go and I just say to them, do you really need to be drinking that? Let's have a night off. Why don't you come round mine tonight? I'll cook and we watch telly together. That's one night out of a week that she's not drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
That I say he,
He.
whoever. But what it is it's about resting. It's about respite. It's about distance.
Yeah.
And you know that's a preventative. You know, as we say, not everybody's an addict, not everybody's an alcoholic, you know, but it's about our behaviours.
It's a sliding
You know,
scale.
I know for a fact that if anything ever took me down, it would not be alcohol or drugs, it would be my behaviours.
Yeah.
I don't need alcohol or drugs to fuck up my life.
That's what
I do
say.
a really fucking good job of it on my own.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need any of those things. You know, they'd just get in the way.
Yeah.
They'd get in the way of it. They'd just like be like, I ended up in a police cell last night. Let me get back to really what I was doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's you know, there are more obstacles. You know, so so it's about the behaviours, it's about watching my behaviours
Yeah.
through other people. And when I mentor people or stuff like that, I watch that stuff go on.
Yeah.
It's almost in slow motion sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
Because you can see it so
oh,
clearly.
I see it, I smell it, I
Yeah.
know. The minute they walk in my room, I'm in my house, I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And they're like, nothing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, really? Okay. Do you know what I mean? I already know before they know. Do you know what I mean?
That question that was asked to you, what happened to you,
Yeah.
is the question that Gabor Mate suggests we ask all addicts, or addiction is ask not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you.
And it's true. You know,
Yeah.
you know,
And
it changed my life.
it's not black and white. It's a sliding scale. We are all. Sorry, we're all on. It's a sliding
Yeah.
scale. It's the same stuff.
It really
and
is.
especially around mental health. And, you know, what you said about speaking to people, you know, I'm a big proponent of that, is, you know, male suicide just through the
Listen,
roof.
if you've got a friend, right,
Epidemic.
that's on the drama triangle,
Yeah.
that's like, oh my God, that person's life's so traumatic. There's so much drama going. There's
They
not
need
drama.
help.
That drama's happening for a reason.
Exactly.
Right? Find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh my God, I can't pick up the phone to them. They're too much trouble.
Yeah.
Pick up the fucking phone. You could be the person that makes the change. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
But could any have got through to you earlier? Because you were a hard nut to crack, obviously.
I can answer that question quite honestly. No.
Yeah.
You know why?
Yeah.
I surrounded myself with soldiers.
Yeah.
I had a moat, I had a castle, my friend George, as in Boy George, used to say to me, no one can get to you.
No.
You have to go through 30 people to get to you, Tony.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what are you on about? He said, I'm your best friend and I can't even call you. I have to go through so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so to get a message to you. Because I was so well protected.
Yeah. Well, not just by people. You were protected by your defense mechanisms.
That's what I'm saying to
and
you.
your behavior.
We create these scenarios so that no one can intervene it.
Yeah.
And you know, if someone had come to me earlier on and said, look, you're turning into your dad, I would have been like, fuck off. But you know what? It may have planted seeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it may have been like, but no one knew who my dad was. No one knew because I never told anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It kind of is just like, I really do believe we live in different times. I feel that everybody has the answer in their hands. You've got social media, you have your phone constantly with you. Just watch for the signs in people's on what they post.
Yeah.
Or what they're saying.
Yeah. The cries for help.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're always there.
Underneath the lines. Of
Totally.
seeing with people
You know
disappearing
someone. You know
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah. It is hard, though. It's hard if they're like you
I don't think
to
you haven't
get
got
through
time.
to people.
It is because you can't.
To crack the
I
nut. Or,
always laugh when people say, "Oh, we're doing an intervention," and I was like,
yeah.
and it makes me laugh because what's the point?
Yeah. One of the things I say, and this is a bit sneaky, but I mean, obviously we spend a small fortune on Facebook marketing and retargeting people. As I was like, look, if you want somebody to change their relationship with alcohol and they're not willing yet, then just go to 1 Year No Beer on their phone and we'll retarget them with ads and inspirational stories. For 6 months, we'll show up in their newsfeed. So slightly sneaky, but...
Yeah, but it's good. It'll work because what it does is, you know, it's a really simple thing. It's like morning affirmation.
Yeah.
Right? It's about starting the day with the right headspace.
Yeah.
If you wake up in the morning and you think, I'm a worthless piece of shit, that could stay with you for days, weeks, and months.
Yeah.
Right. If you wake up thinking today's a good day, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I feel great, I am a good person. That just changes the whole aspect of your outlook on life. You're like me. I pick up the phone first thing in the morning. I'm straight on my phone.
Yeah.
If I see doom and gloom, that can throw my mind into a different space.
Yeah.
So I tend not to go to that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll go to
Very
funny
sensible.
stuff.
Yeah.
I go to stuff that I know is going to make me laugh.
Yeah.
That's where I go.
Funny
to.
cats and dogs on YouTube.
I love funny cats and dogs. You know, I don't need to go to them. I get sent them. I get sent so
Your
much dog
Instagram is amazing, by the way. That's that is a source of absolute. Like, seriously, if you do want to wake up with some humour, you need to follow. What is it? DJ Fat Tony. DJ Fat Tony on Instagram, because it will. I mean, it will bring your newsfeed full of banter.
You know, that's why I do it. I kind of wake up when I thought for the day every day, and it kind of most days it's a serious thought. You know. Some days it's just a picture, or you know, I use Instagram as a third arm. I really do. I use it as like it's like outreach. I do a lot of drug jokes. I do a lot of alcohol jokes. I do a lot of just real life jokes because I laugh at that stuff because I can.
Yeah.
Because I've lived it.
Yeah.
And that it no longer has that power over me.
Yeah.
And people go, "Oh my God, sometimes you're really dark," and I'm like, "Yeah."
I've been there.
Some days I am.
That's the
Do you know what I mean?
Somebody's going to see that.
And that's Instagram. You know, it's and then get like the people that think they work in the Louvre. Who are like, that's not yours to post. Oh, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? You're on Instagram. What do you think Instagram's about?
Sue me.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Seriously, grow up.
So, you're a man on a mission now. Are you still DJing? You're still.
Oh my God! Go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
Of course I am. I'm DJing everywhere. More so than I've ever done in my life.
Amazing.
My career's gone through the roof, and I'm very blessed. I'm not lucky. I'm blessed that I things that come my way are just like it. You know, I truly believe that where I am in life is because of the things I don't do.
Yeah.
Not because of the things I do. Because the things I don't do outweigh the things that I do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, we get back what we put out.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that if you put out good stuff comes to you. And
Completely.
and I won't, I could
100%.
argue with you all day long about that one.
Yeah.
Because people will be like, no, that's not always the case. It is the case.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, you
it's
know,
not,
having put out bad for a long time.
Of course. And it's not momentary. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to go overnight.
No, exactly.
You know, it's yeah, work's insane. I have so much going on. I used to laugh at people when they'd go, "Oh, I've got the weekend off," and I'd be like,
What?
"What? Yeah, so what?"
So,
Do you know what I mean? But now I don't get the weekend. I get a day off a week, and I'm blessed for that day. And I think, oh my God, I haven't got anything to do today. It's amazing.
Are you ever in Mallorca?
I go to Ibiza probably more times than
Amazing.
most people have hot dinners. I
Where do you
got
play in
stopped
Ibiza?
from going last year,
Right.
Because I'd got travelled too much.
Where do you play in Ibiza?
I do Pasha this
Yeah.
year coming. I'm doing Glitterbox at High. I'll be doing quite a few things this year.
Amazing.
And last year I had a residency at High on Friday nights, which isn't bad going for someone who's 56. You know, life's good. This year, a lot of Ibiza, so much. We've got film coming out. We've got so many things happening. Paperback comes out on May 22nd.
Yeah, so the book is out on paperback,
May 22nd,
and
yeah.
I don't do requests.
I don't take requests.
I don't take requests. Thank you. And also, tell me about this TV show.
So
We
they're
cannot
making
talk
a
about it.
docu-film for very, very large streamer. Probably the largest streamer.
Like we did that.
You know, and that's going to come out in June.
Great.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible. It's going to have the best soundtrack to it as well.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
What does playing forward look like for you? What's the impact you want to have? What you trying
you know
to do?
what? I kind of, you know, for me, when I play now, it's a different experience. You know, when I travel the world, I used to be able to do it quite easily. Now I get stopped 30 times at the airport. And and it's a real pleasure because people tell you they've read your book. And it's not like they're coming up to you to say, hey, I've just read your children's book you wrote, like about the Gruffalo. You know, they're coming up to
Which
tell
is
you
later.
that they've read your trauma.
Yeah.
They've read my deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah.
And accept them.
Yeah.
That's a fucking remarkable feeling.
Yeah.
And
It helps
you know,
you
it really
too,
does.
right?
And that when something helps me, it enables me to help other people.
Yeah, it's fuel.
It really does. You know, if I was having a bad day, I make sure everyone had a bad day.
Yeah.
Today I have a good day, so I make sure everybody has a good day around me. That's the way it's got to be.
Yeah.
And moving forward, I just, you know, I want to get. There's loads of things. I really this year I've got more goals this year than I ever had. I was talking to my mother-in-law this morning about it. I'm going to open a doggy play centre in the centre of London.
Great.
I'm going to open. Yeah, there's loads of things going on, man. And she was like, "Wow, listen to you having goals." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, you know, yeah, I have to."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you've got to channel all that energy.
Yeah.
And drive. And this just goes to show when you turn it from negative energy, which it was for me too, it was just
100%.
absolute self-destruct, kaboom, to a positive force like I discovered One Year No Beer, and now I couldn't do anything different. Now, knowing and getting the messages I get and hearing from people about how I changed their life, or a handwritten letter from a son saying I got my dad
Nothing
back.
like it.
There is nothing else I could do on this planet.
No, there really isn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, that feeling of like, people say to me all the time, "Do you not miss it?" And I'm like, oh, are you insane? Do you know, what would I miss? You know, my life is so incredible. And I mean incredible, right? If you told me 16 years ago today, you know, listen, yesterday, right, I went to meet the accountant, right? And in my book, I talk about not paying tax until I was 50, and you know, and I had to pay it all back and everything like that. And I went to meet my accountant yesterday, and he was like, "When you sit down in front of your accountant and they congratulate you on what a good year you've had, you know you're in trouble." Right? And I was just like, "Oh my God!" And they told me how much tax I have to pay this year, and I was dumbfounded. This house in central London. And he was like, "But you've earned that money." I'm like, I'm aware of that, but don't tell me that. You know, it. But, you know, and I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't pay for this. I can't pay it. And I sat there, and within 3 minutes, that I can't went out the window, because I don't believe in I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I believe that I can do anything I want to in life if I do it in a productive manner. Yeah. Right? I can do it, right? When I hear people, I can't go out there because people are drinking. Yes, you can. Yeah. You just made the decision. What they do is not your business. Yeah. It's what you do is what matters, right? And I literally was like, I can pay that. And I'm very blessed that I'm in a position to pay it. Yeah. You know, 16 years ago, I couldn't afford a packet of cigarettes yesterday, right? And today I can afford to pay my tax bill. Yeah. That is recovery. Yeah. That is the most incredible thing. Regardless of how much it is, it's an incredible feeling. Yeah. To have come that far to actually say, you know what, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Wow. Sure. Yeah, well done. Do you know what I mean? Wow.
Well done for you.
That's, you know, mind blowing. The fact that, you know, and I'm all right with it. I have to be all right with it. Yeah. It's not, nothing's going to...
We all have to pay our taxes.
You know, that's it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so just get on with it. I'm not going to go out and have a drink on it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Tony, you're what you're doing is amazing, and you know, I commend you. It can't be easy even today in that industry, still around clubbing and everything else. We do have some other DJs. We've had Gareth Emery. He did 1 year no beer. So that industry is rife.
That industry is really rife because it's part of the job. Yeah. But you know what? Alcohol's not part of my life anymore. Yeah. So my job is music. And I replaced alcohol and drugs with the best drug in the world, music. Yeah. That's cool. It. It's as simple as that.
You must help many other DJs.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could go on forever.
No, exactly.
You know, I've always been a first port of call for people that they've got problems. They'll come to me and they're like, say, look. Yeah. And that's my forte. Yeah. That's my given. You know, by helping someone else, it helps me to see where I'm going wrong. Yeah. Because I don't have all the answers. But I do get the other answers from people that think they don't have them. Yeah. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Tony, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I mean, a very special day, 16 years for you.
You're mad, right?
Right across the place where it changed for you. It's been an honour to have you on. And you know, I like you. I could carry on chatting about this for hours. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Big love, guys.
Yeah.